Not too long ago, the New York Rangers decided to go out and sign their top prospect, Gabe Perreault, to his entry-level contract as his Boston College team in the NCAA hockey tournament ended up losing in round 2 to Denver, which was definitely unfortunate there and not quite expected necessarily, but obviously Denver's a great team there. They ended up beating Boston College, and both New York Rangers prospects there, Gabe Perreault and Drew Fortescue, who is returning to Boston College for his third season there, his junior year. He's going back, but both those prospects obviously ended up getting put out there in that second round. And with that, the Rangers had the opportunity to obviously sign Gabe Perreault to his entry-level contract to allow him to turn pro. And with that, he had the opportunity to go out there and either play a few games kind of throughout the rest of the regular season there with the Hartford Wolfpack or the New York Rangers. And obviously, the ultimate decision ended up being the NHL with the Rangers, as he wanted to burn the first year of his entry-level contract, meaning now, instead of originally having a 3-year entry-level contract like most prospects do, Gabe now only has 2 years left after this season. So, next season there and the one after that. And then he will become an RFA, meaning he'll be able to sign his second contract there with his entry-level contract being finished. So basically, 1 season earlier than most other prospects, the average kind of prospect, he will get the chance to kind of sign his next contract, which is why he obviously wants to and has the incentive to burn that first year, which makes sense there because now he has the opportunity to kind of earn more money a little earlier, which it makes a lot of sense for him. But going into this kind of situation here before the kind of decision was ultimately made, I kind of figured, yes, he would start in the NHL, but I also kind of thought him going down to the AHL would have made a little more sense there and could have been maybe a little bit better for his overall development. Now, obviously, I'm never going to try and, act like I'm a coach or a scout here or anything like that, but that just kind of what my opinion was with how I know this kind of team is run and kind of the way things go with this organization and kind of how things have run under a guy like Peter Laviolette. And obviously, we saw for a couple games there a little bit, Gabe Perreault alongside a guy like Hoffman as well, missed some games here down the stretch, which was definitely very unfortunate there. Obviously, throughout those games, yes, did the Rangers technically have, a possibility, a slight chance, a slim percentage of possibly making the playoffs? Yes, but it was very, very low there. And let's be honest here, I don't think too many people had a realistic kind of, idea that this team would have made playoffs there down the stretch with the way things were going after this team truly did kind of fall off the cliff there. And that's the thing. Down the stretch there were moments when this team were absolutely in the mix there and really kind of could have made the playoffs, and I thought maybe would have. But obviously, they ended up kind of falling flat on their face there, ended up face planting there, and really just lost a bunch of games down the stretch there with, some poor performances, the lack of energy, the lack of physicality, the lack of just eagerness to kind of win, and the wantingness to win. That's not even a word really, but you get what I'm saying there. This team just did not show the effort or anything like that down the stretch there, and that's one of the big things that's kind of wrong with this team. But getting back to Gabe Perreault there, that's kind of the reason why we saw Gabe and Hoffman miss, a game or two here and there. Obviously, it was because Peter Laviolette wanted to put out there, I guess, the squad that he thought gave them obviously the best chance to win, which I understand that. But let's be honest here, at those moments there, those couple games there that they missed, did the Rangers really have much of an opportunity to actually make playoffs? I don't really think so. Yes, mathematically, were they in the mix? Yes, but realistically, they still never had a shot. So obviously, I was kind of disappointed, and a lot of other Rangers fans were as well, when the news came out that we were going to see both those kind of guys, or especially Gabe Perreault, though, miss some time. So I think that was very disappointing, and that's kind of why I also wanted to see him go down to the AHL, where, you're going to get to see him play top line minutes, and that is a guarantee. He's going to get to play top line power play minutes, which again, that is going to be a guarantee, where here, he's obviously not getting much time on the power play at all. He's not getting that true kind of top line minutes like he could in the AHL. And I understand, maybe getting his feet wet in the NHL could make a little more sense there and could be a little bit better for his development going forward. And I still think, these games right now for Gabe Perreault are nice for his obviously development there. He's getting a taste of the NHL, getting a taste of pro hockey because this is his first time playing pro hockey there. And obviously it definitely is a step up, obviously a pretty big one from college hockey there. So obviously, it's going to be tough for him there. So I kind of thought maybe going to the AHL earlier could have made sense there, but obviously getting some games in the NHL isn't going to hurt his development. But my thoughts were he would have obviously had a much bigger opportunity and a much better chance of really kind of getting that ice time there to kind of produce and, get some points there, put up some kind of numbers, and obviously get his confidence way up as well, which, could have been a good thing. But obviously, him getting some NHL games in, I don't think it's going to hurt his development. I just think maybe it would have been better off him going to the AHL first there to work with the Wolfpack, where he would have obviously been, one of those kind of star players down there and could have had every opportunity in the world. And obviously, we have already seen him miss a couple games there, and at this point now, there is only like one game left to play, which it's, what it is there. We'll see what happens, and I'm sure he'll be in that lineup there for the last game. But my point being, we've already seen him miss a couple games there, which he could have been playing, in the AHL. And obviously, it's a different level of competition there. Maybe the Rangers wanted to see him a little bit in the NHL as well. Maybe it wasn't all just, Gabe Perreault wanting him in the NHL for, burning that first year of the contract. But either way, I kind of thought him going to the AHL would have been maybe a little bit better for his development overall. And also, for next season, I kind of think he should probably start in the AHL. And it's not just because of what we've seen so far. I think, Gabe Perreault is obviously a very talented player. I just kind of wonder, with how many players are on this team right now, the wing-wise, I mean, you have guys like Othman, Berard there. Assuming we trade away like Kreider there, we'll see what happens there. But there are a lot of kind of top 9 caliber wingers on this team right now, especially if this team decides to go out there and add in a top 9 caliber winger this offseason, which, who knows, we'll have to wait and see what happens there, but it is a possibility, right? So, especially if that did happen there, and you still even trade away a guy like Kreider, though, there's not a ton of room available in that top 9. So, I still think it is possible, even though we did see Gabe Perreault make that jump to the NHL right away. It definitely is possible. We could see him start in the AHL next season, which I think is probably what's best there. Now, I think at moments he has definitely flashed some talent there in the NHL. Does he look a step or two behind? I think so. I mean, right now, obviously, it's a big step. Like I said, going from college hockey to the NHL, it's a no-brainer. It's a big step for anyone there. And he obviously is a guy who is a little undersized. There isn't the biggest guy in the world, isn't the strongest guy in the world. So obviously, with that being said, he might take a little more time than some other players who are, much more physically mature to kind of take that step into the NHL and kind of get more acclimated. So I think maybe starting next season there in the AHL, getting that top line minutes there with some other kind of top prospects and top players down there, getting that top power play time there, really being the focus of that team and being, one of the top threats offensively for the Wolfpack, and being the kind of focal point of that team could be what's best for his development, because then he's getting that true top line minutes there, which is the same kind of role you want to see him kind of playing in the NHL there. And I'm not saying he needs to be getting that top line kind of minutes there in the NHL right away, or that top line power play minutes there to have a chance at developing. But what I'm saying is, when you have a guy like this who, it's pretty clear what his kind of talent level is. It's very high offensively. That's what he is. He's bringing everything offensively. He's not going to be here to bring a nice two-way game and help kill penalties and stuff like that there. He's here to bring some offense and help produce offensively. So I don't think throwing him down there on that third or fourth line with some kind of lower tier players is really what's best for his development. So getting that top line minutes in the AHL, being a star player down there alongside some other kind of top AHL level players, right? Because even though he's not necessarily going to be alongside some NHL caliber stars in the AHL, he's still going to be playing on that second or first line. And be playing alongside some, good AHL players, obviously, and alongside some good prospects. So at least getting his feet wet to begin next season there in the AHL could make sense, being able to be that kind of star level guy, and then maybe coming up to the NHL could be a decent kind of just thing to kind of help ease him in a little more, obviously, because, I don't think he's played the absolute greatest hockey you could say so far. Obviously, it's a big step for a college player, especially an undersized one like that, who's not physically mature and isn't quite physically fully ready maybe for the NHL. So I think starting in the AHL next season there, and maybe he does come up after a few games, but he does start in the NHL. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But that's just kind of my thoughts there, that I think maybe him starting in the AHL for at least a little bit could be what's best for his development. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching today's video. If you have enjoyed it, definitely don't forget to click that like and subscribe button for daily New York Rangers content, as I do post every single day. And also, of course, definitely don't forget to comment down below your thoughts on today's video. What are your thoughts on prospect Gabe Perreault? Do you want to see him start in the NHL or the AHL next season there? Let me know your thoughts, kind of how he's played so far. Do you think he's been good, bad? Let me know your thoughts on Gabe Perreault. I'll catch you next one, and let's go Rangers.